Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the A-CBT blog and author spotlight series. I'm Dr. Katie Mineta, a diplomate of the Academy of Cognitive and Behavioral Therapies, clinical director at Belmont Psychological Services, and a board member of the National Social Anxiety Center. This series is really about highlighting what high quality CBT actually looks like in practice. And each month we feature a blog from one of our A-CBT diplomates or founding fellows. And then we go a bit further and we sit down with the author to talk about how these ideas show up in real clinical work with real clients and real situations. And our goals are to first give a platform to our CBT leaders in the field, and also to help both clients and clinicians and consumers better understand what effective evidence-based CBT really looks like in everyday life. So I'm really excited today for our this month's author, and this is Chamin Ajjan, LCSW, A-CBT, CST. She's the founder and clinical director of Chamin Ajjan Psychotherapy and the award-winning author of the book entitled Seeking Soulmate, Ditch the Dating Game and Find Real Connection. She's a diplomate of the Academy of Cognitive and Behavioral Therapies and an ASEC certified sex therapist. Chamin serves as an instructor of CBT at Boston University School of Social Work and is a board member of the National Social Anxiety Center. We know each other from there. With over 25 years of clinical experience, her work integrates CBT, mindfulness-based approaches, and emotionally focused therapy, with a focus on helping high-achieving individuals navigate anxiety, relationships, and meaningful connection. Hi, Chamin. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Hi, Katie. That was a mouthful.
It was a mouthful. I know. Well, you've done a lot. I want to make sure to hit all those bases, right?
When I hear those little markers at 25 years, I'm like, how is this possible?
Well, it doesn't look like it, and that's all that's important, right? All right. So let's talk about the article that you wrote for me this month. It was just such a fantastic article. One of the things that you talk about is this idea of the digital fortress, right? And this notion that technology isn't just a tool, but it's really in a full avoidance environment. How do you help clients and even clinicians differentiate between the adaptive use of technology and when it's actually functioning as a safety behavior?
That's a really great question. I am, like you said, an ASEC certified sex therapist. And one of the hills I will stand on, I will die standing on, is that we need to be doing a sexual health screening and need to be doing a current screening of how our clients are interacting sexually with themselves, with partners,
Yeah.
with the environment. And this is my new hill that I will stand on, and that is that we need to be doing a digital screening that
And
it
we
is
don't, right? I mean,
no,
really, we don't.
no.
I had to reach out to you from across the country for for a consultation because I feel like I don't know that we're really well trained to ask these questions,
We are
right?
not well trained to talk about, well, sex. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy that, we don't get more training, and it's not a part of our experience in graduate school, and really even in postgraduate training. We don't see as much sex therapy training, and it's such an important part of the human experience. It's such an important lens to be looking at our clients' overall well-being, but we're definitely not doing digital screenings with
Right.
our clients as well. And we can no longer afford to pretend like this is not happening. It's happening right now. This is not a drill. We
That's
need to be speaking to our clients about how they're interacting with technology. Do they have AI, a chatbot, Claude,
yeah.
Gemini, chat, whatever it is that they're using? Do they talk to it routinely? Are they using AI as a friend, as a mentor,
Right.
as a pastor, as a assistant, as a lover? It's happening.
I
It's
know, right?
happening around us and it's happening regularly. And it's important for us to be exploring this. What apps are you using? How
Right.
often are you using them? Are you using these apps as a way to connect, or are you using it as a way to avoid, to
Right.
regulate your nervous system, because you feel under threat when you're around actual living, breathing human beings? How
Yeah.
often are we using them? If we're using them for dating, are we actually using them to date, or are we using them as a way to pretend like we're dating,
Right.
to swipe and swipe and swipe and maybe say hello every once in a while and maybe stay on the app, but not actually get in front of the person in
Right.
person?
And I want
Um,
to talk about that a little bit because you talk about that in your article, this idea of like, the difference between exposure and kind of substitution, right? So these clients that they're like, "Oh, no, I'm on all these dating apps," but and they'll say, "Oh, no, I am really putting myself out there," right?
mhm.
But are they really?
Yeah, and it looks like they are, right? They're on Tinder, they're on Hinge, they're on
Right.
Raya or Luxy or whatever app they're on, or multiple apps, and they're doing all of this window shopping, and it seems like they're engaging, but they're really doing nothing because it's not leaving the app. And they're
Right.
not actually making that connection. So yeah, they're, asking all of these questions. It's really important to understand how our clients are interacting with technology and what purpose it's serving in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, it is such a, I think, an underdeveloped area for us, right? That we're not asking about sex, and we're definitely not asking about the apps. It's so funny. You listed off all these apps, and I'm like, I actually haven't heard of like half of these apps, but part of it is because I don't ask routinely, and we really need to
Right.
ask. Yeah.
Right. I mean, for me, I'm hearing about it because people are coming to me specifically for these things. I always joke with my husband that I missed out on dating apps. We've been together for 26 years, and I totally just missed out on that. And I joke I would have been really great at dating apps, but it's torture for a lot of people. It's really challenging. So I hear a lot about them.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. That's so funny. It's true. Like in our lifetime, how things have changed. But so you describe this idea of intimacy fragility and the
Mm,
vulnerability paradox with AI and simulated connection.
yeah.
Clinically, what are the early warning signs that a client's use of AI or digital intimacy is starting to erode their capacity for these real world connections that are so important?
Yeah, so just to define some terms, intimacy fragility is really uh, um, a state of being where emotional bonds, where sexual bonds are um, easily broken or fragmented, and and it's preventing you from developing relationships that are resilient, that
Mm,
are strong.
yeah.
And look, AI simulated uh, romance, or this curated sexual content that is out there. It's appealing for a
Right.
lot of reasons. It's sterile.
Yeah.
It's safe. You can
Yeah.
program it to talk to you in whatever way you want to. You're not going to be rejected. You
That's right.
always know what you're going to get from it. But intimacy requires vulnerability. It
Right.
requires openness. It
Yeah.
requires authenticity. And
Yeah.
so if you are relying on this curated content, you create this vulnerability paradox where when you're actually engaging with someone who's a living, breathing human, and there is this risk of rejection, of
Embarrassment of, yeah.
embarrassment. Yes, your nervous system is on high alert. It feels like a threat. It's
Yeah.
too dangerous for you. And so that very vulnerability that you need to create intimate connection
Yeah,
is too risky. And you end up going back to the technology because it is safe,
that's
because
right.
it's what you're going to get from it. But look, real sex, real intimacy, it requires you to take that risk. And actually, in a lot of cases, it's that risk. It's that will he or won't he, or does she or
Right.
doesn't she, or
I
will
know.
they? It's that part of the excitement that keeps you coming back for more. It gives you that dopamine hit. It creates that
Yeah.
anticipation that's so exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah, that vulnerability is so important, but it's too overwhelming. It's too
Yeah.
stimulating. So helping our clients to be able to share if that's happening for them, us being able to recognize if that's happening with them by asking those questions, um, can be really helpful in terms of
Shaman,
us being able to support them
yeah.
around um, tolerating some of that discomfort.
Right, right. And as you're talking, I'm sitting here thinking about some of my clients, some of my young clients that are engaged in a lot of this online dating stuff. And this question is for them, and it's also for me as a clinician.
Mhm.
What I'm wondering is this. So whenever I introduce the idea to them of like seeing somebody out at an event, right? Or seeing somebody in the grocery store and actually doing sort of the cold approach,
Yeah.
right? I am met with a tremendous amount of resistance that even
Yep.
like maybe 15 years ago, I wasn't.
It's
And so,
terrifying.
and right. And it makes me feel like, because really they reject it. They're like, oh no, no, if they're not on a dating app and making themselves available, I shouldn't be just walking up to them. And I think, I wonder, like, is some of this like an artifact from the Me Too movement, that people are very hesitant and like about their approach, but surely there are respectful ways to approach other people. Is
Mhm.
the cold approach dead, Shaman, or is this something that we should still be encouraging people to do?
The cold approach is not dead, but it is dying. It is
Yes,
dying.
I
It's on its last
know.
legs. And we can't let it happen. We can't let the fire of the cold approach extinguish. We have to keep it burning. Um, it's interesting. I get a lot of people who are on the dating apps and that's how they do it. And then I have people who are like, no, I want to do it the old-fashioned way. I want to
Yes.
connect in real life. And so there are young people who still want to use that approach, but for the majority who have grown up using these apps, it's a dying skill. And it's
Yeah.
really important for us to help our young folks and our older folks strengthen that muscle. And we do that not by, I think, having them jump in immediately and start talking to people. But one of my favorite homework assignments that I give, or action plan or experiment,
Mhm.
whatever you prefer, that I give to my clients is something that I call smile therapy. And in
Mm.
New York City in particular, there are so many opportunities for you to just get out there, walk down the street, and practice looking at people in the eye, like get the eye connection and smile at people and see what happens. And typically what happens is these, New Yorkers have a bad rap for being tough, but as soon as they get a smile, they melt. They smile back.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you're engaging. And
Yeah.
then you're connecting, even if it's for a short moment in time, and you're showing yourself that, wait a minute, the thing I thought that was going to happen, that rejection, that mean response, it's not
Hmm.
actually happening. And if it does happen, it's not happening as frequently
As we
as
predicted.
I
Yeah.
predicted.
Yeah.
And when it does happen, I can handle it.
I love this. I mean, I love it. And I have to tell you, I'm going to incorporate this into my clinical practice, because it's something that, it's hard to find sort of different places on that ladder to advance people, right? Like when we're talking about sort of these hierarchical type exposures for social anxiety.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious about this idea of trying to translate insight into behavior, right? So that like I heard you say, I mean, this is an action oriented therapy. When we're talking about treatment for social anxiety, it's action oriented.
Yeah.
If you had to give one concrete shift, something a socially anxious dater could do this week to start stepping outside of the digital fortress that you've described, what would it be? And how would therapists be able to support them in it?
Yeah, so one shift, it really depends on the client, but if I'm just kind of looking at the population in general, it's going to sound a little corny, but go out there into some kind of social environment, right? And that can look like a bunch of different things. It can be a bar,
Hmm.
right?
That's right.
It can be a game of some sort, some kind of
Right.
sporting event. It can be trivia night.
Can it be a
Um,
Trader Joe's? Because I send a lot of people into Trader Joe's. And so I'm
Trader
almost
Joe's is
wondering,
a hot spot
it
to
really
meet
is,
people.
right? I
Yes.
agree.
And it doesn't have to be, hey, honey, hubba, you're looking nice. Do you want to go on a date? It can be, oh my gosh, you've got the Schwimmers. Those are my favorite. Have you had the sour ones? It can be as simple as that, right?
Right,
It
right.
doesn't have to be you hitting on somebody. It's just you getting out there and practicing being social,
Yeah,
practicing engaging with people, and then get them to sit with you and make some predictions, right? What is it that's preventing you from doing this? What are you worried is
yeah.
going to happen?
Hmm.
Okay, let's go out there and test it. Also, if that does happen, what can you do? Let's give you some tools and skills to be able to manage it if it does happen in the
Right,
moment. But I'm really interested. Get out there, go to Trader Joe's, you know,
right.
talk to a few people about the new hydrangeas that they have out,
That's
or
right. I've
about the
seen
talk
those. They're
that we call them
nice.
Fakis, the fake talkies.
Yeah,
Um, talk to people about, what they've got in their hand or in the cart, and then come back to me and tell me
yeah.
how
And
that
let's
was.
discuss it. Yeah.
And
And
most of the time, it's not the worries that they had are nowhere near
right.
what the actual
It's true.
experience is.
Yeah, and it's funny because you're sort of, and this is an important thing for people, clinicians to hear. Part of what is reflected in what you're talking about is really an important concept in the research, right? Which is that it's important to be asking people about what they predict and
Mhm.
sort of taking a look at sort of that prediction versus outcome, right?
Yes.
Because we know that the brain learns over time. It learns to not have that sort of smoke alarm, right? Danger response if we are analyzing those differences. And so it's such an important sort of moment of like research into practice. I love
Yeah.
it. I
Yes.
love it. So, and you make such a strong case for this digital assessment. Give me a sense. Is it just asking questions? Is there more to it than that? What is what does a CBT therapist do? Because we're thinking, right, in terms of our perspective, our thoughts, feelings, behaviors, environment, etc. Like,
Mhm.
how is a CBT therapist doing this digital assessment?
Yeah, I think, normalizing the conversation from the very beginning in the intake and
Hmm.
asking those questions is really important because it sets you up to continue to be able to have those conversations throughout the course of the treatment. But, you know, I, I I think when you are doing your case conceptualization, having that be a part of what you are adding
Yeah.
to the information that you're
Hmm.
gathering. So it's not just about who, they're interacting with in terms of their social interactions, their family interactions, their professional interactions, but their digital interactions also, and
Yeah.
just normalize that being a part of the information that you're gathering
Yeah.
and how you're conceptualizing
The
this
case.
case that
Right.
you're working with. There are tons of not tons, there are a few outcome measures out there that you can use. There's one called the SMUS, and I can't remember what the acronym stands for. Um, And there's another one that I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're out there. They're not being regularly used. And I don't think you necessarily have to use some kind of standardized
Right, formal
outcome
assessment.
measure right
Yeah,
now. I think just making sure you're asking those really important questions of, what are you using? How are you using it? How do you feel when you're done using it?
yeah.
How long are you using it?
Mm-hmm.
What's the purpose that it
Yeah.
serves?
Mm-hmm.
And we're all using it. I'm using it,
Yep,
We're all using
we
it
are.
to some degree. It's a part of our lives. If you would have asked me a year ago if I was going to use an AI scribe for my notes, the answer would have been like, hell no, that's doesn't seem ethical. It's not right now. I can't live without my AI scribe. It's the best thing
Right?
ever happened to me.
I know. Such a time saver, right?
It is amazing,
Yeah,
worth every penny. So we're all using it, and we need to do a little check on ourselves also because we can be very judgmental and critical of people using these things.
yeah,
Um, and do we have a bias? Are
yeah,
we not asking the questions because we don't want to hear the answers or because it makes us feel weird or we don't feel comfortable or competent in our own knowledge or the gaps in our knowledge about these different types of technology? It really is okay to
yeah,
ask, what is that?
yeah,
And tell me more about that. I haven't heard of that before.
yeah,
And then do a little research. And it's, I always tell my staff, I prefer a clinician who says, you know what, let me take a moment and look into that, and I'll get back to you next
yeah.
week.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of pretending like you know something. It's okay if you don't know. It's okay if
Right.
there's a little bit of a gap there. We can catch up and we can talk to our clients and find out more information
Right,
as
and educate ourselves on
well.
what their perspective is. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, it's incredible. I think the first time that I started kind of hearing about different AI models, it was from a lot of my socially anxious clients who were
Mhm.
using it to draft emails,
Mhm.
right? And
Right.
so, and I have to tell you, I've actually heard now from a few couples that I've worked with that they're using it to draft emails and text messages to one another.
Yeah. To tone police, right? Because you're so afraid that your partner is going to misread something. And it's so hard anyway. Checking tone on text, it's always hard to know
Right.
what the tone is. But then if you're so worried about how your partner is perceiving what you're
Mm.
saying that you have to use AI, that can be debilitating. It really can.
Yeah, it's true. And yeah, but these are all wonderful topics for therapy. So let me just direct you for a minute to your book. Would you just take a moment and introduce us to the topics of your book? Because I think it's a book that really speaks so directly to clients with these types of problems or to these types of issues and concerns. Let's talk about
Yeah.
it.
So Seeking Soulmate, Ditch the Dating Game and Find Real Connection is 10 years almost. Next year it'll be 10 years old. So
Wow.
a lot of the technology that we're using today wasn't present back then, but dating apps were. So there is some information in the book about that. It's really, I like to tell people, a love letter to my clients because I get so many dating singles. Um, like you mentioned, I am on the board of the National Social Anxiety Center. We're on the board together.
Yeah.
And for my practice, social anxiety often comes in the form of dating anxiety or sexual anxiety. And
Yeah.
so this was my response to my clients who were struggling. And at the time, I was doing a lot of work that we were calling mindful dating, learning how to
Mm.
be present, learning
Yeah.
how to be authentic,
Yeah.
learning how to observe what's happening in the moment in a non-judgmental way, and doing that on a date so that you can show up as your most authentic self. And as a CBT therapist, of course, there's a ton of CBT practices in the book as well. And we look at different relationship structures. We look at um, dating singles, we look at couples, we look at um, different presentations in terms of anxiety and stress or what you're bringing from one relationship to another, and
Mm.
how you can use CBT strategies and these mindfulness-based strategies to allow you to show up as your true self.
Yeah, and Shamin, having worked with you as an author before, I know that this it's such a wonderful emphasis that you have on this idea of bringing your authentic self and the importance of that when you're dating. And it's so difficult, right? Because particularly most of us are anxious on a first date. Most
Yeah.
of us are anxious when we first meet somebody. And so trying to figure out that way to introduce who we really are, right? And not being afraid of that, and not feeling like we have to put on such airs that our self isn't getting in there.
Normalize it. When you go to a date and you say, "Oh my God, I'm so nervous," that helps the other person feel comfortable too. It helps
Yeah,
them. Yes, I'm feeling nervous too. Most people feel nervous on a first date. And if you're going to show up as somebody else, you might as well not show up at all. Eventually,
it's
the
true.
real you is going to pop out. And then that's where the real problems are going to start, because it's like, who is this? I haven't been dating this person. This is a brand new person, and I don't know if this is going to work. It's
Right.
impossible for you to keep up the charade. So it is better for you to show up as you.
Yeah,
That's how you're going to truly connect with somebody.
right,
And you don't have to be the perfect version of you. You just need to
right.
show up as you. And look, we all do it. We go on a date, we go on a job interview, we go into any of these situations where we want people to like us, we want to be
Hmm.
accepted, we want to prevent rejection. And of course, we're our best representative of who
Right,
we are, but try to be an authentic representative and not
right.
somebody else.
And with this sort of digital fortress that exists out there, I mean, so often, I mean, I hear this from my clients all the time, like the hard work that people go through of putting in the best picture of themselves,
Yeah.
right, out there on the internet. And the problem with this sometimes is that, if we found that picture from 15 years ago, that we really looked great back then in a
Yeah.
bikini, right? And then then we meet in person and it's not really who we are now.
Yeah. Well, it's not even 15 years ago. It's an AI generated or a
Oh,
touched up picture or a
yes.
filtered picture. And I always encourage my clients, okay, you can use one of those if you want, but try to add some authentic ones. Add one of you with a messy bun and your glasses on.
That's
Add
right.
one of you semi made up, add
Yeah.
one with friends, and then you can use this this other one, because when you show up on the
Yeah.
date eventually, it's like, who's this?
True. It's true. Oh my gosh, the incredible phenomenon that exists right now with this digital dating is just so marvelous.
Yes. It's
So,
hard to resist though.
I know. And so, Shaman, I want you to talk a little bit about your clinical practice, but I also just do want to make mention that, in addition to being such a fabulous clinician, you really also do a lot of consultation with other clinicians, because you really are an expert in what you do. And
Oh,
so, I think a lot of us rely on you, to sort of figure out, where we need to go with clients or sort of in our own thinking about our clinical practice. But so just talk to me a little bit about your clinical practice.
yeah, that's very sweet of you to say. Thank
It's
you.
true.
So Chamin Ajjan psychotherapy turns 15 this year, which is a wonderful milestone
Yeah,
for
that's
me, for my
incredible.
family, for the
Yeah,
clients that we've worked with. And I think I mentioned before, we are a trauma-informed, sex therapy-informed practice.
yeah.
So what that really means is no matter what you're coming to us for, whether you're coming in for something specifically related to sex, or sexual dysfunction, or if you're coming in for something general like depression, we're
Mhm.
talking to you about sex. If you're depressed, you might have a lack of libido. Your medication might be messing with you. Um,
Yeah.
if you're anxious, there might be some performance issues. If you're stressed, we usually fall into two camps, right? One side, we use sex as a way to cope, as a way to relax, as a way to release. And then the other side, don't touch me, don't look at me, put that thing
Mm.
away. I am not
Yeah.
interested. And
Yeah.
so being able to talk to our clients about how sex is showing up in their life or not showing up in their life is
Yeah.
another really helpful lens for us to be able to understand people's overall well-being. So we're
Yeah.
talking about it with everybody who's walking through the door. We also, like we said, work a lot with people who have social anxiety and
Hmm.
run a group overcoming social anxiety with CBT skills.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
that group is focused on dating anxiety and on sexual anxiety. So it's a really wonderful way for people to, in community, be able to practice these skills, practice with each other before we send them out to Trader
Right?
Joe's.
In a safer place, right? We're
In a
going for
safe
sort of,
environment.
yeah, that's
And
great.
then we also, I like to tell people my practice grew, the heart of my practice is really our survivors of childhood sexual abuse. So we work
Mm.
a lot with women survivors of childhood sexual abuse. They're not the majority of who we work with, but they are the heart. And
Mm.
for me, I knew very early on when I was working at a members assistance program that I didn't want to work for anybody, that I was going to eventually have my own private practice. I wanted to be able to go to the assemblies and
Yeah.
help with the homework and be able
Yeah.
to take a sick day when I needed it. And so I had, my full-time job. I had my 10 clients on the side. Six of them were women, half of them were survivors of childhood
Wow.
sexual abuse. 20 years ago, I created a group that still runs today because it was so hard
Wow.
to be able to find resources for these women.
Yeah.
They were either in hospital settings or really far away or just non-existent. So I created this group 20 years ago. It still runs today
Wow.
for women survivors of childhood sexual abuse. It is CPT in nature, so cognitive processing
Right.
therapy, which is just fancy CBT in my opinion. Um,
It's true.
but so it is, but it's also very warm and supportive and flexible. And then as a Black woman, I get Black women coming to me, and every once in a while, the group would be exclusively Black women, and the
Wow.
conversation would shift to
Mm.
the early sexualization of the Black girl,
Yeah.
to the early adultification of the Black girl, to generational trauma, to mistrust of systems, all these things that weren't
Right.
coming up in the mixed group. And so we have a group specifically for Black women as well.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Are these online, in person?
They're online.
Online.
So we are
Fabulous.
licensed in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Florida, and South Carolina. So they are
Awesome.
therapy groups. And so you would have to be located in one of those 5 states, but we would welcome you with open arms.
Wonderful resources. That's fantastic. Oh, so great. Well, Chamin, it's such a pleasure having you be a part of this series, and I thank you so much for this. And yeah, and for anybody who is interested, go find Chamin online. She's done so much wonderful work, and yeah, I can't say enough about you. You're just such a wonderful clinician and wonderful colleague. So thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
being
Thank
here.
you for asking me to be a part of this. It's an honor.
Oh, it's my pleasure. All right. So, and for anybody who is interested, anybody who's a diplomate or a fellow of A-CBT who is interested in participating in the future of this blog and author spotlight series, please just reach out to me and let me know what your idea is, and we'd love to have you featured.
Do
So,
it. It's fun.
yeah, yeah, it is. We do try to make it fun, yeah. But thank you so much, Shaman, and going to look forward to seeing what you have in store for us next.
Thank you.
Take care.